Today's a so-so. Okay, so please don't forget to sign in. Welcome. How many of you guys have taken a class from REI before? One person? Okay, no worries. How many people are co-op members? You don't have to be. I'm not going to judge you. Great, you can still say. All right, cool. All right, so this is one of the free classes that REI offers. What's cool about this is you can just kind of show up and take it. We also have paid classes, which is really great. And they're a lot of fun depending on what you guys are into. So what we can do real quick while I'm getting set up, why don't we go around the room, you guys tell me your name, and then kind of tell me why you're here, what you're looking for in this class, and I'll help me kind of structure it. So we'll start with you.
My name is Paul, and I saw where I'm taking the wilderness medicine this weekend. The all-day courses.
Perfect.
So it would be good.
Wilderness
I've already
first
kind
aid.
of built a first aid kit, but I'd like to just kind of see, if there's some overlap for things. So.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's going to be great. We'll actually reference that class throughout this one. And classes like that will help you build your own a lot better than this will. This will just kind of give you an idea. So, and your name again was?
Paul.
Paul. All right, Paul. While we're doing that, I'm just gonna write down. Let's see. Let's do. Keep yours up. Okay?
Cool. Hey guys, I'm Justin. I'd love to take a class like that, and I'm curious to see what kind of holes there are in my first aid kit.
Okay. Great.
Hey guys, I missed the other part, what we're supposed to do.
What you plan on getting out of kind of why you're here.
Okay, because I want to learn what's being taught.
Okay, great.
Hi everybody, I'm Jada. I'm here just because I want to get into more hiking adventures, I guess, and I want to be safe.
Awesome.
I'm Andrea. Same thing, basically. I just want to see, I guess, like how we can take the knowledge from today. And it's basically my first class that I've taken on REI, so
Welcome.
very excited.
Thanks for coming. Sorry I'm late. Bad first impression. I promise you will get your money out of this class.
Someone said downstairs that you were really good.
Great. I'll have to remind me who they are. I'll give them money when I leave. Okay, are you guys both?
Hi there, yeah, we're here to interpret the
Fantastic.
class into sign language.
They frequent our establishment. Great to have them here.
I'm Lauren. I have occasionally would like to do more challenging stuff at some point, so I just want to, have the knowledge to stay safe, I guess.
Okay.
I'm Patrick, and I've got tons of first aid kits. I keep them like in my bag, my motorcycle, my truck, my office, my house.
Great.
And I modify all of them.
Great.
And I was an EMT like years and years and years ago.
Brother in arms.
Thank you. I feel like when you get a certain length of time past that, you just lose knowledge and you lose experience.
Sure.
So I'm kind of sort of stepping back in that direction, kind of just slowly regain some knowledge. I'm gonna take a motorcycle trip. I'm gonna go on a long trip.
Long distance?
Yeah.
Great. Love two wheels, man. That's great.
Maybe.
Awesome.
I'm Zachary, and me and my wife are going to do the John Muir Trail, so we're just trying to learn as much as we can before
Cool.
that. So here we are.
Yay.
I'm Stephanie, and I'm along for the ride.
Okay. Great.
I guess I'm next. Hi, my name is Mike. Been here for a few years. I've got a little bit of background in search and rescue, emergency communications. And I'm getting me and my wife a little closer to some overland travel in Colorado and
Okay.
Utah, Mexico, New Mexico, etc.
Great. Outstanding. We've actually got a pretty solid group. Normally I have like 2 or 3 people in here, and so this is great. All right, so guys, excuse me. There's no real PowerPoint for this class. It's really kind of an impromptu class that we designed a long time ago, and it's basically I've got a few different first aid kits. I pulled 2 off the floor that you guys can buy as is. I've actually got 1 kit here that I take on me when I'm teaching outdoor classes. REI requires me to carry this. And then I've got whatever's left is kind of bits and pieces from my personal. I was late, so I was running a little bit behind. I couldn't find my whole kit, so I just grabbed bits and pieces. So we'll kind of look at these. I'll go over some key stuff, and then there's gonna be a lot of like questions and answers. So you guys, like, as you see something, ask me, and then we can kind of talk through it. How many other than you are signed up for the class this weekend, the Wilderness First Aid class? Okay. How many people have had first aid training, like just generic first aid, CPR? Okay, great, good. Any wilderness add-ons to that? 1 EMT, anybody else in the medical field? As far as that goes, okay. So we've got one EMT, and then we've got some weekend warriors. We'll go with great. By the way, my name's Jeff. I am an EMT with a wilderness add-on, so like a wilderness EMT. It's a wilderness upgrade for medical professionals. It's a 5-day intensive. I was in North Carolina for over a month total for my training in the woods, just doing all kind of fun things. My beginning training actually started with the class he's taking, the Wilderness First Aid. I was a lifeguard when I was 17, and I've been doing first aid ever since. And I'm way far away from 17. We won't get into where that is. But I'll answer your questions to the best of my ability, and that's really it. Questions, comments, concerns? Thanks again for waiting. Sorry for being late. Okay, so. What's in your first aid? So first aid is like anything else. You can buy a kind of just a generic one-fits-all kit, or you can customize it, or you can buy and customize it as needed. So your first aid kits, a lot of them, especially the ones we sell here, are geared more towards outdoors adventures, right? Hikes, backpacking, hiking, thank you very much. All that fun stuff. You know, there's other generic kind of like Walmart stuff or Target, you know, Band-Aids and that kind of stuff. And the way they divide these in, for instance, this would be a smaller kit. It'll say Backpacker Weekend. So this will give you a breakdown. It doesn't say, there's probably somewhere downstairs it'll tell you this is for 2 people for 2 days. Okay? And if I just read off the list, adhesive bandages, and it's got just kind of different things like that, gauze, wound cleaning, topical relief, medications, and then it's got other items. Now everybody here, we're kind of more geared towards outdoor wilderness, so we'll keep it in that realm. Okay, we'll keep the urban stuff. That's for another class. So you'll have this little bitty guy. This is really small. This is something that you can stick in a day pack, or maybe even if your pocket, if you've got like the cargo pockets or something like that. Getting up, if you're carrying for multiple people, they start getting bigger. So this will actually tell you extended weekend. So this is 6 people, 8 days. I'm sorry, this does have it on here. This is 3 people, 2 days. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of what you need. Now, not everything in there is a necessity. A lot of it is just kind of things that are great to have. Now, what I tell people, especially in my class, I teach wilderness survival, so I like to use things for multiple functions. So things that are in my first aid kit might also carry over into my survival kit, might also carry over into my everyday stuff. So it's, you know, things I can use as first aid. For instance, I don't think I have a shemagh on me. A shemagh is basically just a big piece of fabric. It's probably one of the first times I teach a class I don't have one on me. But it's basically just a big piece of fabric. I can use it as a scarf, keep the sun off of me. I can use it as a hood, something like that. I also, when I'm teaching or taking these classes, training, things like that, it's something that's great. You can fold it in half into a really big triangle bandage and use it as a sling, okay? Or as padding, or actually as bracing itself. So it's a really great multi-use item, and it's something I always keep on my person, not necessarily in my bag, okay? As far as first aid kits go, if you get into like tactical training, things like that, a lot of military people will keep their first aid kit in one of their pockets. Okay, that's great for two reasons.
Blowout, like a blowout pack off their chest carrier or something.
Right, exactly, or like a blowout, something that's easily accessible, and that's great for two reasons. Number one, you always want to use their gear. That's something that you'll learn as you start training. You never want to use your first aid on somebody if they have their own. And second, it's easily accessible. A lot of people carry first aid kits and it ends up in the bottom of their bag underneath all the things. And if it's something that you really need, you don't want to have to dig through a day pack, or if you're doing a multi-week backpacking trip, it's something you want accessible. So that's something I would recommend to you guys as far as location. Deciding where you're going to carry that. You don't need it till you need it. So definitely I'll keep some necessities maybe on my person, and everything else I'll have if I'm volunteering or working out in the woods, I'll have everything where I can just get to it really quick, right? So questions on that? We're doing good so far. So what's in a first aid kit? So adhesive bandages. Okay, what will we need adhesive bandages for? Cuts. Okay, big cuts, little cuts. Right? What else?
Scrapes.
Scrapes. Okay. Why do we need bandages for stuff like that out in the wilderness?
Stop the bleeding.
Stop the bleeding. What else?
Mitigating infection.
Exactly. Protection, infection. Great. If you're out, especially for a couple days, you're exposed to all this dirt, and you can pull up and see like what percentage of dirt is fecal matter, and it's all these really gross things that are really just freak you out and you never want to go outside again. But yeah, covering that stuff up's really important, especially when you're doing like a long distance motorcycle ride where you're going to be maybe not near civilization, or the John Muir Trail. Like, you guys aren't going to be around people a whole lot in some stretches. So even if you do get hurt and you decide you're going to have to evacuate, you gotta take care of yourself, right? So you need to protect the wounds. So you've got adhesive bandages, and that they say adhesive bandages. It says butterfly closures. I mean, that's pretty fancy. I mean, you guys can learn how to cut up some duct tape, right? Everybody carries duct tape in every kit. You got it in your car. You got it on your shoe, right? I carry it on my water bottles, so it's right there, easily accessible. That's something that you can. Maybe I don't need butterfly, but maybe I can pull that out and make my first aid kit lighter, right? Other than that, we've got a fingertip, okay, which is like, we're all adults in here, it's like a really small condom. It just kind of goes over and protects the finger. Say you're whittling some firewood and you make a cut and you clean it and then you just put the little, that's great. There's other things that you can carry around for that. Most of you will be traveling with people you know and loved ones, right? So you're going to know about that person. So maybe BSI or PPE, which is body substance isolation or personal protective equipment, maybe that's not going to be an issue for you. I always carry a couple pairs of gloves in my pocket, especially when I'm teaching classes, because I don't always know everyone in my classes. I tell, medical problems, let me know, but some people are very private, and that's fine. So I always want to protect myself first. That's something they're going to teach you in like a first aid or a wilderness first aid class. So carrying these around is great. Also, if something happens, somebody has a decent amount of blood, even if you know them, you don't necessarily want to have to scrub it all off of you. So keeping gloves. So instead of the fingertip, or whatever else, you'll have an actual pair of gloves that you can cut and use. I also teach people in my class, these actually make impromptu containers and kind of things like that. So these are great to have, especially if you are going to be tagging along on a bigger group where you're not very intimate with everyone in your group. Makes sense? Questions so far? talk about adhesive bandages. When you take wilderness first aid and when you get into the wilderness first responder and then the wilderness upgrade for medical professionals, they really try to steer you away from tape as much as possible as opposed to tying. And that's just because depending on what you're taping or tying or what have you on your injuries, you want to be able to constantly check. If you get it too tight or you need to make an adjustment, it's a lot easier to retie versus tape. So when you talk about adhesive bandages and things like that, you know, somebody got hurt, you throw a piece of gauze on them and wrap them up with tape. You know, that might be great right then, but then later on, what if you need to check it, if you need to clean it, if you're out in the woods for a couple days. So, you know, again, like I said, I'm going to reference that class a lot. Getting actual training, first aid training, is a huge plus. So, good? Am I freaking everybody out with blood? I mean, you thought you were going to be talking about blood when you came here, right? Okay, good. Gauze items. So gauze, you know, that's great. It's basically just, let's see if I've got something. There we go. I'll dip into my personal stash here. This is something that I do keep on me. I do not substitute this. And you can see I've got 3 layers of protection on this because I don't want to get it wet when it's in my gear. Gauze is great. I buy the sterile gauze in multiple sizes. And this does not take up a lot of space. This little pack here would be something that I would keep on my person. Because if someone's bleeding really bad, again, that's not something I want to dig. And I don't want to put my shemagh on top or my bandana that I've been blowing my nose in all day, because we do want to think about wound care and keeping it from getting infected. Multiple size sterile gauze. Now this will be in here. You can see 2-inch, 4x1 yards, all different kind. There's sponges. You know, buy what you need, what you've been trained on based on that, you know, and don't substitute this out. You want sterile because once you open it, it's not sterile anymore, so individually wrapped is great. I like to wrap mine in multiple layers of protection because you know, I still teach when it's raining, I still go out in the woods when it's raining. Last thing I want to do is reach in to grab my gauze and the package is disintegrated because it's soaking wet. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, but I pulled one of my kits out of a waterproof bag, so just be very aware of that. So gauze are great. You're going to find them in just about every kit. If it's a Band-Aid, like a cut or a scrape, you're not going to need this, but if it's anything substantial, you want to be able to pack on a lot, right? You'll just keep adding, and that, again, is something you'll learn in training. So lots of gauze and sponges in this, 4x4s. And again, that's just going to be for padding. So you have it for the actual wound, and then you'll also use it for padding. So if you're having to sling, let's say you guys are out mountain biking, and guy falls off, puts his hand down, and he has a compound fracture. His bone's going to be sticking out of his arm, which is not pretty, right? So you're going to have a break, but you're also going to have some blood. So obviously you're going to want to keep the blood, right? And then you're still going to have to stabilize that arm. So while you're doing all that, you've got the gauze to pad as well as keep from bleeding, right? We're good with that. Good. Medications. Okay, so this is a sensitive subject, and he'll be able to speak to this. As far as being an EMT, emergency medical technician, in urban care, unless the person that you're working for says it's okay, there's not really a lot of medications that we're allowed to give to a person. Some medications, depending on the situation, we're not even allowed to help you with. A lot of red tape with urban medical care. But when we talk about urban care, we're talking about right now, if something were to happen with you guys, we are 4 minutes away from rescue. So within 4 minutes of us calling somebody, there will be immediate medical care here. And they will be able to do whatever they need to do, hopefully, to get you from here to the hospital as quick as possible. Once you're at the hospital, doctors take over. They've had you know, they go to school for years. That's their thing. In a wilderness situation, it's a little bit different because it's prolonged care. So when you start talking about the difference between a first aid class and a wilderness first aid class, you can take a first aid class and a CPR class in an afternoon, in a couple of hours. Because what do you really need to do for that first 4 minutes before your EMS gets there, your EMTs and your paramedics, right? When you're in the wilderness, it could be hours or days. So that's why the class he's taking this weekend, it's 2 8-hour days, and you don't even learn CPR. So it's literally how to take care of somebody in the woods for an extended amount of time, learn CPR on your own. And it's one of these classes where they teach you something, and then you hands-on do it. They teach you something else, and you hands-on do it. So you actually know how to do that stuff when you get out. So with medications in the backwoods, you're going to be thinking about things like Benadryl, anti-inflammatories, Tylenol, things like that. It gets real tricky with the over-the-counters because you need to know if somebody's allergic, things like that. These are all great conversations to have before you go on your trip, by the way. If you're going backpacking or even traveling, out of the country with a friend, it's good to sit down and know. If they're a diabetic and they don't tell you till you're 2 days out and they ran out of insulin, that could be a very heavy backpack to try to carry out of the woods. Okay, so knowing somebody's medical history is very important, along with the first aid kit.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go.
You know this, of course, but like for those who like a mountain bike or even you just fall off of something and, of course, motorcycles will go down hard. If someone's conscious, you've got them stabilized, maybe they've got some type of fracture, there's a lot of, localized swelling, and it's just so, and I've seen this happen so many times. Like, so I was trained years ago, remember, but, you forget a lot of stuff. But one thing I knew is, like, they always want to start cramming in the Advils. And I was like, no, you may have internal bleeding. We can't do this, it's going out your blood. Tylenol could be an option.
Right.
It's a different formula. But, I just throw that out there because people want to take something to relieve the pain, especially if you're mountain biking or hiking and you know you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
It
So.
could make internal bleeding worse.
Right, so anything you put in your first aid kit, especially with the medications, but even with like the gauze and the bandages, number one, get out and play with it. Number two, know what it is. Know what the difference between aspirin and ibuprofen and Tylenol. Like, some people are allergic to one but not the other, and it could really matter. One thing, you give somebody something, if they're having chest pains, you can give them one thing and make it all better, and give them something else and you can make it worse. So knowing, being familiar with the medication, learning, and we talk about, Tylenol is technically a name brand, right? Knowing the generic forms and all that stuff is really good.
Can I just ask it?
Yes.
Okay, so the little packets, like this one, this is my personal for the motorcycle, but the little packets that come in the first aid kits, with a very fine point Sharpie pen, I write the name brand on it, because it'll say non-aspirin, it'll have the ingredient, but in reality, it's Advil, or in
Right.
reality, it's Tylenol, so I actually write on it Advil, Tylenol, so whoever pulls it out knows what they're dealing with.
Great, smart. And he's talking about the individually wrapped, definitely the way to go in your med kit. Dosage spelled out for you. You're not opening up a bottle and dumping out, gotta hope this is enough. Individually wrapped's great. I like that with a lot of things because, for instance, with water tablets, purification tablets, once it's exposed to air, it starts breaking down, right? So always good to have individually wrapped, and then you can just dose and go. And if it's non-name brand, write in the name brand, because somebody might not know that, they're allergic to non-aspirin, but they know they're allergic to, so definitely know that. So, getting familiar with it. If you guys decide to buy one, great. Tear it open. I don't know if you guys saw, I just cut these bad boys open. They're going to get really mad with me down there. I don't care. You guys get a lot of money for this class, and once you get your money out.
It'll go to the yard sale.
So yeah, it'll go to the yard sale. No, they'll bandage it up. They'll put this little printout sticker, and they'll act like it never happened. I'm not taking anything out. It's fine. But dig in it. Don't get out and somebody's hurt, and you pull out your first aid kit and you're tearing off the tags, right? Number one, not going to give a lot of confidence to the person in pain. Okay. Get in there, know where everything is, move stuff around where you think you might need it. Medications. Any questions on medications?
Yeah, I'm listening pretty carefully.
Okay.
We have 3 first aid kits,
Okay.
not including the house. 2 for the cars,
Yep.
And actually, I've got one right here. We'll call it a hiker's contact kit or something like that.
Sure.
And the way that you compare and contrast this back and forth is really interesting to me. What do you want to carry? Possibly being stuck overnight, making your way back down to camp. What don't you need? Obviously, car kit is going to have different requirements
For sure.
than the first point that you made was pull-on care possibly could happen when you're 30 miles off of a big road.
For sure.
Your comment about medications with regards to prohibitions because of legal concerns or whatever the case may be.
Right, and and some things I can't tell you to take and not take because of, like I can't tell you have to take Benadryl if you're allergic to something, or things like that. So some of the wording you'll hear me say is because I'm kind of dancing around with.
Yeah, the gray areas, especially as far as, okay, let's talk about Benadryl for a minute. What can we use it for?
Right.
That sort of thing, and this is why you want it in your hiker's contact kit, and you're probably never going to use it out of your car kit.
Right. Well, yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, Benadryl is something that I think when it first came out, they were very stringent on, but now it's something that in the EMS system they're allowing even people as low as me, the basic life support people, the EMTs. Depending on who I'm riding or who I'm working for, allowed to give that, Benadryl along with epinephrine. So Benadryl is for allergies, allergic reactions. You start talking about anatomy, vasoconstriction and vasodilation, where your respiratory system starts really tightening up and it gets hard for you to breathe. You start having swelling. We talk about basic life support, what we were trained on, what you guys are trained on, even if you take just a basic first aid, is CPR. That basic life support's airway, breathing, circulation. So those are the three main things that if you take care of that, then the rest of it kind of, is an after fact. So Benadryl could be something that keeps you from having just a really bad trip or going into, airway, breathing, circulation, right? Because if you can't breathe, and again, obviously if it's your spouse or somebody like that, you have that discussion before. If you want to give that to them, then, that's a conversation that you guys have to have. But Benadryl is something, or the non-name brand, is something great to carry around. You know somebody that is deathly allergic to something, peanuts, bees, things like that, they should have an EpiPen, all right? If they don't have an EpiPen, they should get one. They will be able to get a prescription. You can't buy Epi over the counter yet, but they can get an epinephrine pen. If that's the case, and you're traveling with somebody, have them go over it with you, or you learn how to do it yourself, because it's a pretty scary thing to never have done it before, to have to jam a needle in somebody's leg. They've got them pretty safe where there's no actual needle anymore. But still, like, knowing and going over it and knowing where it is. If somebody's deathly allergic to bees and you're going on a 3-day camping trip with them, that pin needs to be right here. That pin better not be anywhere other than right here. And every day when you get up in the morning, you need to be like, "Where's your pin?" Okay, good. And then start your day, right? So Benadryl kind of works with epinephrine as far as allergic reactions. So that's definitely something to have. And something you might carry more, like he said, in your hiking trip versus in your car kit. My car kit consists of anything I would need if I pulled up onto a motor vehicle collision, which is normally what you're going to see driving down the road, right? I'm not going to necessarily need that in the woods, because unless they're really going really fast on a mountain bike, they're not going to get to that kind of force that two cars colliding are going to have. It's going to be a different animal for me to take care of. And always treat with your training. Don't. I saw this on TV. He's not breathing. Let me just, cut his neck open and stick a straw in there, right? Like definitely stick. If you took one first aid class when you were 17 and you're 30, whatever, or 50, whatever, right? Like, do what you can remember. Try not to make things worse, and Everybody's got a phone, no selfies, just 911. They'll find you, Google Maps, whatever.
You
So,
mentioned EpiPen.
Yes.
I'll just throw it out there for you guys. I don't personally need them, but I'm aware of, but I have several in my different kits, and I just make to tell my doctor, oh, I need EpiPen. He doesn't even ask questions. He's like, okay.
Sure.
Sends in, but the manufacturer of Wall, W-A-H-L, the manufacturer of EpiPens, for the last couple of years, they've been offering a zero copay coupon. So if you've got insurance, whatever your copay may be, you just go to the Wall website, you give your information, they email you the coupon, you take it to the pharmacy, they'll apply your insurance, you give them that, because usually it's like $40.
sure,
Copay.
yeah. Copay.
Right,
If you're
copay.
paying out of pocket, they're a couple hundred, I think.
Yeah, the last several I've gotten have just been free with insurance plus the manufacturer.
Right.
And they come with a practice injector. So you have the actual EpiPen, and then inside the tube you have a practice injector.
And make sure you use the practice injector when you're
Yeah.
practicing. But no, that's great information. EpiPens are great because you might not know you're allergic to scorpions because you just moved to Texas and you've never seen a scorpion before in your life. But guess what? They're everywhere. I just bought 10.5 acres, and every stump I move, those little bastards crawl out and they come after me. So, you don't know until you know, and sometimes that can be too late. So if you can get, for cheap or free, if you can get your hands on stuff like that, the life you save may be your own.
Can I ask you something, Jeff? What's
Yes.
the new theory on snake, like venomous snake bites now?
So I can tell you, they'll talk about it in your class in
Oh,
depth.
okay.
So, because this is not a first aid class, this is a what's in your first aid kit. But I can tell you that I believe it's Knowles, Knowles is a big outdoor school, right? So technically Knowles is a competitor with REI because we both teach outdoors. But underneath Knowles they have Wilderness Medical Institute, which is basically the forefront. They do the wilderness first aid classes, they do wilderness first responder. They're basically leading the way with training. They do new training every single year to try to figure out, if this works. And they go out and they do studies and they're really trying to find it out. It's really a great program. So I believe it's one of the two of those that are actually fighting with the Snakebite Kit company to change their names to something else because it's no longer considered best practice. That being said, I'm not telling you to use them or to not use them. Get training for them and you make your own decision when you're out. Don't get bit by a snake. That's my training. I teach all the people in my survival class. It's red touches yellow, kills a fellow. Don't pick up snakes. Okay, just stay away from them. Who cares what color they are? Well, if they have cat eyes, then who's gonna get that close? Just stay away from snakes, and you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so as far as and they'll tell you exactly yes or no on that. They'll tell you what research has gone into. But that's a great question, and they still sell them down here. And I will say, don't buy one before you take the class, if that helps.
Right. I was just referring to more stabilizing somebody and doing what you could until they got to the hospital for antivenom or whatever.
Right. So what they're teaching right now, and nobody's quoting me on this. This is unofficial. I'm not telling you this, but I heard from a guy once that read somewhere that maybe diluting is better. The suction can actually keep it in one place, and they're saying that dilution is the best solution. So it would be, I would say that I would try to lower their heart rate and get them somewhere. That would be my, hypothetically, if I were just talking to myself in a room full of people right now. Yeah. So everybody good on that? Yeah, don't go down and buy a snake kit today. Train first, and then if you want to buy one, that's all you, right? Is anybody allergic to anything in here? You don't have to tell me. Yeah, something bad.
Fire ants,
Fire ants, and they're bad here. They're super bad.
as I found out when I moved to Texas.
I said everybody. My dad just moved here to help me with the property, and everything hurts you in Texas. So, welcome to Texas, Dad. Still freaking out about the scorpions. Yeah, so yeah, it's important. It's important to know. If you don't know you're allergic to scorpions, just go out and just let one kiss you. And then if you have a really bad reaction, don't let it happen. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. I did not tell you to do that. We have after medications, good on medications. After medications, you've got things like sting relief wipes, first aid burns and creams, aloe vera gel, hydroxychloroquine cream, things like that. Okay, read the package. If it doesn't say it's good for it on the package, it's probably not good for it. But those are some of those things. Now, those to me, the burn cream, maybe. Most of those are not a necessity. Most of those are kind of more comforting than I'm gonna die if I don't use this. So that would be something if you're going ultralight backpacking. Do I take the 8-ounce bottle of aloe vera, or do I just, get burned and deal with it when I get back, right? That's something that you kind of go through and add her some trouble. She's like, yes, I'm bringing it.
Well, my one luxury item,
Oh yeah, no, here's my one luxury item right here.
Who's that?
Toilet paper.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Luxury?
Yeah. So when I was a child, I grew up in the woods, and my dad always had a roll of toilet paper in his pocket, and I always asked him why, and he carried it and never told me. And after one day, never forgot mine ever again. Had my own. So that's my luxury item. Let's see, wound cleansing. Okay, now this is something that is super important. Okay, I really like, and they'll tell you, I think they tell you as low as first aid, but carrying some sort of a syringe, and that's great for flushing wounds, which is pretty much the universal wound cleaning idea, is to just pump it full of water. If you don't know that you put enough water into it, put a little more. So that's great, especially when you start talking about like flaps. So wounds that aren't just open and beautiful for you to like just get the little dust particles out. Use a little duct tape to clap. You get these really nasty things where you got to kind of lift a little bit and clean underneath there. You want to get that syringe and just really just soak it full of water. I actually worked in the store at one point, and one of the guys in the bike shop lopped his finger off in the bike chain, which was really awesome, because I was on my break, and all of a sudden I hear, "Go find Jeff, go find Jeff, go find Jeff." So I get down there, and I was just like, I'm like, man, that looks like it really hurts. And as I'm telling him that, I just grab his thumb and throw it under the sink and just turn it on. So I'm like, how's your day been before this? And just having a conversation with him while I've got it under, and he's trying to accurately, just flush it. So wound cleaning, super important. Antiseptic towelettes. So anything like that, that's going to be great. Yes.
Car Kick has a half-liter squeeze bottle of 5% saline for
Nice.
soft contact lemons, and it's sterile until you open.
Mm-hmm.
How important is sterile in a situation like that?
Sterile is all. If you can get something that's sterile, that's always the best way to go, because it is telling you until you open that package, it is clean. So on that same line, if someone is hurt and the only water you have is in a stream, that water from the stream is not sterile, right? There could be bacteria, protozoa, and viruses floating in that water. So when you're talking about wound cleaning care, you want to make sure that you're using potable water. So like water from your drinking supply, or treating the water first, even though that may take some time. You want to go those steps. That's not going to be a big issue in urban care, because they're going to get you to the hospital pretty fast if needed, and they're going to clean the crap out of that thing. But when you talk about being out in the woods in a couple days, because just simple cuts in the woods, can really mess you up. And the problem with infections is once it starts spreading, gets into the blood, all that stuff, it's slowing the person down. It's messing with their mental, their cognitive capacity, so they're not going to be able to help you make decisions. They're not going to be able to necessarily get themselves out. So infections in the woods is a huge deal, and that's going to be something that we definitely treat. Something that I didn't talk about in medications that just dawned on me. So everybody buys first aid kits. You guys are doing the John Mural Trail. In my past experience traveling abroad and multi-day trips in the woods, it's really great to know how to set limbs, reset shoulders, bandage everybody up, C-spine, sucking chest wounds. Like, these are all really awesome things to know how to do. Most of the things that you're going to deal with in the woods are going to be with this right here, okay? I ate something and my tummy hurts, and I'm 5 days away and I don't feel like walking out, okay? I'm feeling it from both ends, that kind of stuff. So when you talk about medications to carry, probably some of the most useful stuff is the stuff that you're really not going to think about, and that's going to be whatever it takes for you and the people that you're with to settle all this mess that's going on inside of them, okay? So it's really great to know how to treat sucking chest wounds, but treating an upset stomach is probably going to come in handy a lot more, okay? When guides go on trips, especially with younger people, most of the stuff they deal with is waking up in the middle of the night and they're throwing up. A lot of that can also be with not properly treating water, right? So something I stress in my classes. The water's never good to drink. I don't care if it's crystal clear running from a fountain with a, whatever. I treat it first, please. So, touch back on medications.
In
Yes?
that category, any brand names or generics that you'd like to have with you, tablets or otherwise?
I'm always a big fan of tablets only because of ease of carry and packaging, and carrying a quart size of Pepto in the woods might not necessarily be the best move. But as far as brands and all that, it's going to have to be personal experience. I can tell you, I've seen most medications work differently on everyone, right? Everybody kind of has their own. I mean, you guys know. I mean, somebody, take this, it helps me. It's like, that doesn't help me at all. That's why there's a million different brands and a million different colors of everything out there, okay? So know yourself, pack for you. If you're traveling with somebody, make them pack for them, right? And then that's why you use your own kit versus somebody else's, okay? What works for you might not work for me. I can tell you, it probably almost doesn't, for sure. Got a lot of stuff going on over here.
Since no one knows my name, I'll just throw it out there, because you have a liability factor.
Oh, sure.
I carry Imodium, I carry electrolytes, and I carry rehydrating salts. In the event you're losing a lot of bodily fluid from one or both ends, those are going to be the three things. Imodium. Yeah, I forgot the electrolytes and rehydration salt.
I will recommend rehydration because that's something I can really talk about. As far as electrolytes go, I've used a lot, and I also I do construction, so I'm 15 hours a day, 50, 60 hours a week in the middle of this Texas summer. My dad, same way, construction his whole life. He was drinking Gatorade, and he was on a slab that was probably 120 degrees during the height of the summer. I recommended Nuun, N-U-U-N, which is what I use. I use it in my class. It's really great stuff. I would recommend that for a comparable. There may be stuff out there that's better. I know there's stuff out there that's worse, but that's been really good for me personally, so I can recommend that. And the rep will come in from time to time. They're also, if you guys are into like organic, farm raised, whole, whatever, they're in the process of making everything. I mean, even the oil they use to get the little Nuun tablet out, they're using avocado oil. I mean, they're really trying to like get that natural factor, and to me it works a lot better than some of the like over-the-counter sports drinks. So if you haven't ever tried that, definitely give that a try. So that's something I can talk about. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Saying, not saying, but like, I know that the John Muir Trail, there's a lot of elevation change.
Uh-huh.
And that can be, I know on me sometimes, just from living in Colorado, like, it can affect you in different ways, either, you know, nausea or
Mhm.
lightheadedness, and that could be from dehydration, but it could be from something else. Is there anything that, like, you recommend for, like, altitude sickness? Go down?
That's the only cure. There's things that you can take that may or may not help you if you start taking it beforehand.
Mhm.
I've lived within a stone throw of I-10 my whole life, so I'm pretty much. I mean, I lived on the beach for 10 years. You don't get more sea level than that. So I'm a ground sea level person. Yeah, I did some really intense hiking in Peru, and I was going from 9,400 to almost 14,000 feet. And I had a doctor, a friend of mine, prescribe me some what is it called? Anyway, it's something for altitude sickness, and it made me feel weird as hell. And I was so glad to not take it anymore. But it kept me from having altitude sickness, and I was able to crush all that. So as far as I know, the only cure is going down. So be mindful of the altitude. They make really great watches and other gear. If you're doing the trail, you guys should study enough to know when you're peaking. The biggest part about that, to fight it, is just making sure whenever you're peaking it, always go down to sleep. Okay, so if you're gonna hit a super high point, don't stop there for the night. Try to head down, and that'll definitely help keep from that setting in.
From the aviation sector, without supplemental oxygen, it is by regulation necessary for pilots in non-pressurized aircraft to only spend half an hour at a time above 10.5.
Okay.
And there are some 14ers in Colorado, right? There's quite a few.
Yeah.
So if you know for a fact that you're going to be heading on up,
Mhm.
be aware of the fact that you got to go around 11,000 feet or something like that. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on their containers.
For sure. And that goes along with the training and the first aid. No matter what, always keep an eye on everybody. And if somebody starts acting strange, get it early. You know, hey, have you been drinking? What's going on? When's the last time you ate? Everything going all right? You good? Have you? Yeah, I haven't seen you sneak off to the bush today. Everything going on? These are, they're awkward questions, but they could be the difference between catching it in time. And, especially with kids. I don't know if anyone has kids or works with kids, but they're very particular about some things, and especially when it comes to using the bathroom in the woods, and they won't, and that will mount up on multi-day trips and become an issue. So some adults act like kids, so keep that in mind, and definitely help regulate that for sure. It's got some other items. Scissors. Okay, you don't have to carry them, but scissors are great. I normally carry a knife with me, especially out in the woods, but when somebody's hurt and I have to remove some article of clothing, it's a lot less scary to go at them with a pair of trauma shears than it is to come at them with a big Bowie knife and say, I'm going to cut your pant leg off, right? So scissors are great in that if you want to use that duct tape to make your what do we talk about? Your butterfly or anything like that, right? If we need to cut something to fit where maybe it doesn't fit, that's great. Definitely for a car kit. Maybe you're going ultra lightweight backpacking and you don't want to carry a pair of shears. Make sure you have a cutting tool in general. Tape. Now they've got the medical tape, which is great. I've got it taped to my bag. Duct tape is also really great. Forceps, a lot of these will have the.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, man.
Meet someone.
Great, yeah. Sorry for being late. Hey,
See you in another class.
sounds good. I'll be around. Tweezers, that's something that are in a lot of these things. Depending on what it is, using a credit card can be better than using tweezers, especially if somebody's allergic to something that they got stung by. Something to think about. The irrigation sponge, or syringe, that's something that we talked about. Here's something, accidental record and a pencil. Okay, I prefer a Sharpie. and definitely something to write with. You know, a Sharpie is great because you can write on the person. So, God forbid somebody does get bitten by a snake, go ahead and circle that and write the time. And then in a couple of hours, if it's spread, you can circle it and write the time. And that's a really great way to keep track of an injury if it's getting better or worse. That goes with rashes or anything like that. Also, in my kit, I don't always carry this, what kind of BP cuff, you know, stethoscope, and a light. So the light, you'll have a headlamp or something like that, which is, you know, great for just checking on everything and making sure everything's good, especially at night. If you don't know how to take somebody's blood pressure, I don't recommend carrying a blood pressure cuff in the woods. I think that's probably a little ridiculous. But for a car kit, or you know, maybe more urban, that's a great skill to kind of know how to do and practice. And we were talking about your saline that you keep in the car. So along with that, keeping something to wash these, right? So the like the Purell, or you know, whatever non-name brand. That's stuff just to have, like, that's good in general. But if you don't have gloves and you're getting ready to treat somebody's wound, you've been climbing in the dirt all day. We already talked about what dirt was made out of, right? Let's clean the hand before we treat people. So that's, you know, something that's really good. Or treat yourself. So that's something that's really good. There's splints, triangular bandages are super cool. Yeah.
I just had a quick question
Shoot.
about, kind of going back to the cause, kind of back to that subject, but like blisters.
Yeah.
What, like,
Huge.
yeah, big deal.
Yeah. Huge.
Big deal. One of my major concerns is like
Okay.
blisters.
Okay.
You know, like, what do you do besides duct tape?
All right. So they have, well, duct tape's the poor man's.
I mean, I ran cross country in college and stuff like that, and they always use that blue tape or that blue, like, kind of spongy stuff, and then they would put the athletic tape on.
For skin or something like that.
Yeah, so moleskin, something like that. The best thing to do for blisters is treat them before, okay? They call them hot spots. Anywhere, and that's not just your boots or your shoes or whatever, anywhere that's rubbing, that doesn't feel good, stop and fix it. If you are on the first 30 minutes of your 5-day hike and you're feeling a hot spot in your boot, you stop. You make the whole 50 people that are hiking with you stop, or tell them you'll catch up, and you take care of it then, because prevention is by far the best. So if you're feeling a hot spot, your boot, somewhere like that, this has some moleskin in it. So moleskin, I think that's a name brand, but any kind of, like, you know, it's basically like duct tape, but has some padding, and it just goes on, and what that does is that keeps that hot spot from rubbing and continuing, okay? Just don't get blisters. Preventative measures, I mean, that's the best thing. I mean, putting duct tape on your skin because it's rubbing is a lot better than trying to put duct tape on a blister, right? Everybody get what I'm saying with that? So prevention. So it doesn't matter if I'm rubbing here, if I'm rubbing down here. Another thing that I keep with me that may or may not be in these, I keep it in my survival kit. I have cotton balls soaked in Vaseline, and it's for making fire purposes. But the Vaseline works really great for everything. If I'm like, let's say my shirt is rubbing underneath my armpit, I can take a little Vaseline and put it there. If my lips are feeling chapped, not that order.
Yeah.
This part is different.
I was gonna say body glide would be good for
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and I probably have some body glide in here because I do a lot of distance running, so I've always got that stuff in
That's
here.
like what triathletes used for all their.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how comfortable your clothes on after about 20 or 30 miles of running, okay, stuff starts rubbing you everywhere. So Body Glide is great, and they have Tri-Glide, they have Body Glide for women, Body Glide for men. I don't know if the chemicals matter that much, but I mean, yeah, that is great, especially if you're doing a lot of mileage, whether it's walking or running. If you're hiking a lot of mileage, I mean, that stuff's good too, right? So maybe, try Vaseline and Body Glide and see which one, what can you do more with and take that with you. Because backpacking is all about cutting your gear and figuring out the bare necessities, right? So I can use this for this, and then, I can only use this for the one thing, so maybe I'll try to replace that with something I can use more, right? Your first aid kit, same thing, especially going out in the woods. Nobody is going to want to go hiking with you if this thing is filled up to the brim and you're going on a day hike, okay? Right, like that's a really intense first aid. If you need this much first aid for a day hike, we need to reassess some things, all right? So, having a different kit, it sounds crazy, but having a kit in your car, having a kit for a day hike, having a kit, maybe it's the same kit, but you add and subtract things, right? But multiple kits for, one size does not fit all. How many people in here only have one backpack? You only have one backpack? Is it North Face?
No.
Okay. Jansport?
No, it's like brand.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so, backpack, right? I'm not even gonna tell you how many backpacks I have. Right? You know what? I have a backpack for everything. I have a backpack for teaching class. I have a backpack when I'm doing medical stuff. I just, everything. So first aid kits are kind of like that. Create them. Make them your own, and use them. Don't just buy them and forget them. Go through them, change stuff out. I've had this first aid kit for a year. The Band-Aid doesn't really stick to you anymore, but here you go, right? Like that's not going to do me any good. So
Touch on that some more. How frequently do you want to go back through, checking contents, cycling stuff in, pushing stuff out?
So most of my gear, so survival kit, first aid kit, at the bare minimum, yearly. Bare minimum. First aid kit's something that I feel like, my survival kit, I use it in class once a month. I know every nook and cranny and built it, it's there. But knowing your first aid kit's pretty important. In a survival situation, I got time to think about, do I need a fire, do I need shelter, like what are my options here? If somebody's bleeding, you're not gonna be like, my God, hold on, my gauze are in here, one of those deals. So know your kit, right? Know what's in there, go through it as often as you need to know not only everything that's in there, but that everything in there is current. Medications, the meds, if you've got anything with adhesion, leave it in the car on a Texas summer. After about one summer, it's either going to all be melted together or it's not going to stick to anything. So knowing that and going through and checking it periodically is great. If you decide to go the route of these gloves, nitrate gloves, or even just latex or anything like that, they do have a shelf life, especially when you start leaving it in the car or in the backpack, in the garage, and things like that, right? So just maintain.
Okay, I do a lot of ultralight backpacking.
Yeah.
3-5 day. So
Okay.
I'm far enough away that I don't have water, so I have to use iodine tablets. And can you flush them with treated water through an iodine tablet?
Yes.
Or through contact solution, because I'll always have those two, but I won't have alcohol.
Yes, so iodine is actually, some kits used to have, I told you I wasn't going to remove everything. I'll beat this kit up. It's going in the garage sale. So they have iodine wipes in here. So iodine, that is still something commonly used to clean wounds.
Okay.
So iodine is great. I will make a suggestion on a side note that has nothing to do with wilderness first aid. Look into non-iodine tablets.
Okay.
Aqua.
For treating the water?
Yeah, Aqua something and then MSR. I prefer chlorine based. Iodine tablets don't kill protozoa in the cyst form. Okay? Don't ask me why I know that. I got all kind of weird stuff in my head. That's pretty specific. But iodine does not treat that. So I like to use chlorine based.
Are they tablets or liquid?
Yeah, always get tablets.
Yeah, okay.
Always get tablets. Aqua something is what I think Wilderness Medical Institute, and then MSR has some down there that's chlorine based. Either one of those I would recommend. Iodine, number one, if you've got a thyroid problem, you're not supposed to have iodine anyway. Number two, Like I said, they don't kill protozoa in the cyst form, which is pretty specific. But last thing you want to do is think that your water's treated
Yeah.
and then have it hatch in your innocent part of your stomach.
Okay, and with those things, you can also, like, filter them.
Anything that purifies water
That's fine.
is good. Yes, I mean if you're able to drink it and not get sick, that's what you wanna use to treat your wounds.
And then still, like, if my water bottle is really low and all I have is my contact solution, I can use contact solution? Just for little cuts.
So
Would it be okay? It's not gonna kill me or get infected or
Don't you
anything?
get you a water
How can I,
slingshot or something?
I'm trying to think about how to word
There's
this.
thousands of gallons around.
The 5% saline solution is fairly benign.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes. So
And does that get it done as far as keeping your contacts
Oh, yeah.
clean and
Yeah,
up?
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then you now have a multi-use item.
That's-
how about this?
That's what I'm going after here.
They have saline. That has been used to hydrate people,
Oh,
right?
So it's safe enough to drink.
No. See, this is where we get right here.
Someone-
This is the slippery slope we talked about at the beginning of class. I am not saying that saline is good enough to drink, and I'm not saying that's okay to treat wounds with saline. Okay.
But people
I
have.
probably should.
But people have done a lot of things that are no longer with us. Do your research. You're on the right track. I will tell you that. Okay. Read up on it. Oh man, I knew it was gonna happen. We're almost done. Just knew it was gonna happen. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Yes.
Hypothetically, two people going camping for
Okay.
14 days
Yep.
should each have their own, hypothetically, have their own first aid kit.
Okay. Great question, and we don't have to be hypothetical.
Okay.
We can be legit on that. Okay, that's a personal preference. If you're gonna buy a store-bought kit, chances are it's gonna be one kit for multiple people, right? This is 6 people for 8 days. That's a legit kit, right? So one first aid kit for the 2 of you would be fine. Now, the survival instructor in me says that everyone should always have their own thing on them. Okay. Are you also going to be sorry, take that back. Is she also going to be carrying your water?
No,
Why?
we're gonna carry our own water.
Why?
Just needs to get separated.
Oh yeah. So I got water. This bone sticking out of my leg, and I cheaped out and only bought one first aid kit. Right?
Yeah.
Same principle. Okay. One is fine. Just don't ever leave each other. Okay. Just
Right. Gotcha.
clip it on. Yeah.
Generally, what would you take in the larger pack for an extended trip compared to a day or overnight?
Great question. Let's see. Upon quick look, I'm going to say I have more topical reliefs, which we talked about how important they were. More medications, and when I say more, I for the most part just mean more of. Same basic deals. A few less wound cleaning, which I would question. I feel like you still need the same amount of wound cleaning. That's it. It's for the most part, it's just going to be more of. Now, this does not come with scissors or forceps. Oh, it does come with scissors and forceps, I'll lie. But it does not come with a safety pin or a wire splint. And what are you going to do without either one of those
Can't find
things?
any of those.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
what.
find a million reasons to use a safety pin.
Yeah, exactly. A million and one.
So it's basically just comfort and quantity.
Yes.
And there's nothing that essential that's missing in the.
Don't use
Sorry.
so like your
Right,
words.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're hypothetical
Gotcha.
here. Yeah, your words are so permanent. Never ever will you ever. No. Yeah. So for the most part, what's going to vary these kits are going to be quantity, right? And I will say these kits are great to buy, especially if you don't want to spend the time to actually build your own. but I will say it's not a bad idea to go through and then maybe make some modifications. The bags themselves are actually, I mean, probably one of the best parts. I like the bags. For instance, this bag, it's almost cool. But I mean, this bag is something that you could have clipped and you can just open up really quick and get to, right? See how it kind of just like lays out, everything's here, and you look all legit. Look, it's even got, like, it's all organized. I love organization. When it comes to stuff like this, don't tell my wife that, 'cause my house is not that great. When they gave me my first kit to teach an outdoor class, REI, they're like, here's the kit, and it was in this like REI backpack. I'm like, cool, backpack. And I get it out, and like the medications are like just flying around in there, and there's like Band-Aids, just look like a kid went in there and had a party inside the backpack. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, these medications are for this, and these are all the same, and I put it in this bag, and these are all the same, and I've got all these little baggies and everything, and I got everything all super situated and right where I need it, for when I need things. And I got it all done. I got finished teaching my class, and they took the bag away from me, and they gave it to somebody else. And then next time I got it, it looked like this again. So whatever. Now I just have my own. They don't touch. But yeah, so be organized in your kit.
Would you recommend that we take like wilderness training?
Have you ever heard of a book called Into the Wild?
Yes.
He didn't have any training. Look where they got that. Yes, I always recommend training. Books like Into the Wild can be very spiritual and inspirational for people, and books like Wild and movies like Wild can be very empowering. But I would always recommend knowledge over just like sheer luck.
Yeah, that's not what we're going for. We
Yeah.
want to be prepared. So.
I would always recommend knowledge, and that doesn't necessarily mean knowledge from me and coming and taking my class, or even from REI, but I would definitely recommend knowing, and learning is, you can never know too much. I mean, I know about protozoa and cysform. That's real life, that's in here, it's never going anywhere. It's forever in my head. So yeah, I always recommend knowledge. First aid is super important. If you're asking about my wilderness survival class, it's a fun class. If you don't know how to make a fire, if you don't know how to prioritize what's important to keep you alive, you can read a book. You can read a book and get that same.
But you have hands-on training?
Yeah.
That's what I need. More of a hands-on.
That's huge too, I think, because all the stuff I do, it's like, you gotta practice it, because when your wife compound fractures her leg, if you haven't ever worked with none of that stuff, you're gonna be self-panicked anyway, and you want it to be like second nature.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the record, it's never the wife that compound fractures their leg.
No,
It's always the husband. Honey, watch this. Always the husband. I know. I'm really trying to talk my wife into becoming an EMT, and she doesn't understand why. She's like, "But you know everything." I'm the idiot that's gonna get hurt. Not really. I'm super safe when it comes to being out in the woods. I make all my bad decisions in life, like in that urban environment, because I know I'm 4 minutes away from help, so it's fine. It's the best help money can buy. So any other questions on first aid kits? I didn't really break these down, but I mean that's really the essentials. I mean, mine, sometimes I only have like sterile gauze and some Purell and some other stuff, and then everything else I make because I know how. I've been trained. The wilderness training is great because not only is it extended training, but it's also like impromptu. So if I'm in my house, man, I have everything. Like I have so much stuff in my house. By the time I decide what I'm actually going to use to treat whatever it is that's happening, the medics are going to be knocking on my door, ready to go, right? But in the woods, I don't have that because I'm an ultralight backpacker. So I left my saline and I wore my glasses because I'm not trying to carry that 8 ounces of liquid because I want to, I'm ultralight, So now I'm having to be like, well, this is all I got for, everything. So I got to figure out how to make this work, So it's great in that. Cool. Questions, comments, concerns? When was this class supposed to be over? I don't even know.
8 o'clock.
Gosh. Well, there you go. You got the 20 out of 30 minutes that I stole from you. And I'll be here, I'll leave this out for a few minutes. You guys can come touch and look and peek. And if you have any more questions, I'm here. Yeah.
If we wanna sign up for your class or whatever, when is your next class?
I think I have a day class next, or is it February? Next month. But I just got approved, I'm actually starting, I just turned in my outline for the first REI Wilderness overnight class. Wilderness Survival Overnight. So I'll teach that, that'll be in February, and I will tell you that will be way more hands-on than my day class. My day class is only a couple of hours, and it's like really just trying to squeeze in the bare minimum of what I think you need to
Class
know.
that overnight?
April something. I don't.
You don't need to August.
Okay. Yeah. April something, and then online, and then this is the store that the outdoor school is stationed out of. I'm never here anymore. I'm not even here when I'm supposed to be. So, but they can get a hold of me here, or anyone else. If you hated me, you want to impress somebody else, you're SOL for survival because I'm the only one who teaches it. But there's other classes that you can get that you don't have to look at my little mug. Yes.
Would you be willing to critique if one was brought along?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna like look at every Band-Aid just because I know my wife does want to see me tonight. But I will go through and take a look at some stuff for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is your class that you're going to do in April, it'll show up on the website?
Yes, if it's not already up, it will be. They actually just I think they submitted my outline last week to corporate. So.
And it'll say like overnight.
Yeah, it'll be Wilderness Survival Overnight. I'm actually going Monday to scout the land. I'm pretty stoked about it.
In Austin?
Yes.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
so we go?
Yeah, it'll be not
Oh,
here.
we actually go.
It'll be in the woods.
In the woods.
I mean, I'm basically gonna be like, all right, here's what you need to know, and I'll see you in the morning. You don't get to, hey, it's not a sleepover in the REI. You're not sleeping in the tent down the display tent. That's not how this works. You're like this. Oh boy, no, that's not how that works. Yeah, so yeah, and then like I said, feel free to come up and take a look at everything. Just keep them separate, and then those do have to go back on the store. So be there. And then no, I'm not checking anybody's blood pressure today.
Where can we put our classroom with the evaluations?
Oh, just stack them on the back. Tell them you hated me and I was late.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no worries.
You're not teaching it this weekend?
I'm not teaching this weekend. I'm actually remodeling my house. So my weekend, I'll be lucky if I can catch the Super Bowl at this rate.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys very much. Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Can I ask you a
Hey,
question
thanks.
about your report?
Yeah.
We would-